All right, guys. So we're gonna get started with this week's market overview. I think a lot of cool things to look at this week. So first thing I want to say is things don't look that good. I mean, I'm gonna be very honest. I do not think this is very bullish. Now let's just kind of take a look at what happened this week, right? So we had this kind of massive downtrend, right, all the way through, and then eventually we just kind of reclaimed it here, right? And this was this 685 level. And I think I talked about this last night. I was watching for that reclaim of 678 or so. People kind of asked why 678 or so. And that would just be all of this region, right? So we never actually broke down from this level here, right? We closed above 678, and then we were able to squeeze all of these highs here. Now the problem with this is this price action just looks predatory, right? You have very quick aggressive moves up that get bought and squeezed down immediately, right? There's no bullish market structure in anywhere here, right? So you have, right, lower low, lower low, lower low. And then again, you have another squeeze, but the question is going to be, can you actually, flip any of these levels back to support, right? And my gut says no. Honestly, my gut does says no. This does look pretty shit. Because again, you have a wick into whatever this region is, and you squeeze up to all these highs. But the broader market doesn't look very good. Like if you look at this looks fucking terrible. Like we can just be realistic here. We don't have to pretend, right? If we want to compare this to Bitcoin, right? This thing just as usual cannot get a single close above support, which is the same as BTC. And this is probably just going to continue to reject off this region and go lower again, right? There's no reason to assume otherwise. And why is there no reason to assume otherwise? Because again, the structure on this is just terrible, right? Short squeeze, right? You basically stopped out all these equal lows, okay? So everybody long from here got stopped. You ran the shorts, right, who shorted here, so they round tripped all the way across. And now we're just back at break even, probably going to go lower again. It just looks terrible. If we look at it on a higher time frame, we can kind of see why. I mean, maybe, it holds this region, but it just looks terrible at the end of the day. There's no real strength off this level. We've tapped this demand like 6 or 7 million times. I'm not interested in buying this thing. It just looks fucked. Like, that's just the reality of it. I don't need to overcomplicate it. It just looks fucked. I'm going to be honest. Soul looks pretty fucked too, except for the fact that you're back above 166 now. But if we look at this on like a daily time frame, this was significant closes below support, right? If we're just going to squeeze up and then go back below, we are fucked. Giga fucked, right? And again, this key level is probably somewhere around 160 here. So this is fine, right? This doesn't look bad, but if you're just going to do the same thing where you squeeze, roll over and die, it's going to go much lower. Much lower, I promise. There's no fucking way this holds for anything. Because that will just mean that this move is the same as this move, right? It's just another way to stop out people trying to short this down. But if you look, there's no exit. Like, there's no strength. Again, you need to do something bullish before you can actually do anything. So please make a higher low at like 161 or whatever. Fine, that'd be great. But until you can prove it, it's kind of useless, right? Same with this. Like, you could have tried to buy the pullback of this candle, but you just got wrecked. Probably the same thing here, but it's hard to tell. Especially into election season, I don't really want to touch this. And if we go to a weekly chart, it's kind of the same thing. Where I said earlier, we can probably fill some of this giant wick, right? So we have this massive weekly level up here, which we can draw. And it doesn't really shock me. I think I said it like yesterday that we're coming back to fill probably part of this. So this is fine. But look at this structure and ask yourself, does this actually look bullish, right? Not really. Like, this is just probably going to do something like this, right? Where it just projects down. It doesn't look healthy. It's only because this candle is green right now that it looks good, right? But if you just, reject literally anywhere at all, I imagine what you're going to do is just wipe all of this. And when I say wipe, what I mostly mean is, some sort of run at this trend line. I think you'll just nuke through all this crap. Yeah, there's just nothing here, right? So you're kind of just bouncing off these local EMAs, but this is just, to me at least, another short squeeze, right? As we can see, no strength. I think I'm wrong if you reclaim like this whole level. You know, if you don't lose 695, 694, if you stay above here, I'm probably wrong. But at the moment, it just doesn't look like it. And it's kind of the same with these things, right? Like coins like Ondo. This is honestly, the copy trade has been getting fucked the last week and a half. I'll be very, very blunt. Copy trade has just been getting full fucked. Um, we've taken 5 losses at 5% each. We've only lost 15% because I've done some, I've edited the trades a bit to make them a bit less brutal. But this is why. I mean, kind of a shit time to start upping the risk on copy trade. But this is the main reason why, is that there hasn't been a single place for the bot to win. It's just been straight down. I'm gonna be honest. Like, at a certain point, there's only so much I can do, and when this kind of happens, you just eat shit. It really does suck that it's just the same timing as when we started the copy trade. This actually looks pretty decent, if I'm gonna be honest. This one over here, but you do have to reclaim this level. But yeah, I mean, just consecutive 4 days of this. If you lose 3 trades at 5%, it's going to be 15% every time, right? So the fact that we lost 5 when it's only 15% isn't bad at all. Just understand, guys, degen copy trade will be high risk. That's just the way it goes. If you win all the trades at 5% risk, you probably make like 30% or so in a single day. These accounts are going to be really, really volatile. I'm just being blunt with you guys. I want them to do well. Believe me, it physically pains me that they're in drawdown now. I worked so hard to fucking bring that account to like plus 20 or whatever. But that's just the way it goes. Kind of annoying that this dump started when we started compounding the gains, but sometimes that's just the hand you get dealt. I have complete confidence that the bot will do what it's supposed to do. Just be aware of what account you're following. If you guys want lower risk, we do have lower risk options, or of course you can just run your own bots as well. That is always an option that you guys have the ability to do through Blowfin. Sorry, I got a bit distracted from the market, but I will go back to that. But yeah, I mean, when I look at these things overall, there isn't too much that I want to touch. Stuff like SPY and indices. Again, it's just a short squeeze, right? Very, very hard to tell what actually happens here, but we had this whole region of demand, right? We woke up this morning and they held it and they gapped the shit out of it all the way back up. Squeeze the same trend line, right? So I said last night in stocks, right, if we did take out, this, we'd probably take it out on BTC. I think you guys were there for that for the most part. And that's pretty much what happened, right, is these are the same chart. The only difference in these two charts, I'll draw it in a second, but there's only one difference. And that is also what makes me very sus about this, is it does feel a bit like it's just legacy fuckery. If I wipe both these charts, right, it's the same shitty trend line, right, all the way across. The only difference is this low here, right? So for stocks, they made that deeper low first and then made a higher low, right? For BTC, you swept this low second. Really no difference, marginal difference. This just made the lower low first, but I would expect these to be the exact same. As for degen copy trade, I do expect us to run it up pretty aggressively when these bots do get unpaused and quite honestly just stop nuking. We don't need a bull market to do well. I mean, that's just the reality of it. If we just look at these on a long-term basis, they're going to have done pretty well. Even at, 10, 20% risk or whatever. It's just kind of shitty timing to start where we started, right? So if I pull this up, this is us over here, right? That just sucks. But a lot of other places to make money, so I can't be too upset at the end of the day. That's kind of the point of all this stuff, and kind of why you guys run your own bots and do your own thing too. Is over the long run, these things are profitable. They do have a proven track record. Their stats are reliable, and they should make money. So, at the end of the day, I mean, there is stuff that's definitely performing better right now. It wouldn't surprise me at all, because honestly, if you're just taking very wide trades, it's a lot easier to win in conditions like this, right? If my stop loss is, sitting down here, it'll be pretty easy to make some profit between here and here. But when conditions align, I have no doubt we will print quite aggressively because our wins are just quite big. Now, broader market in terms of, I guess, alts we can look at very briefly here. Most of them are not too interesting. I would say, AAVE doesn't look bad. This is kind of the only thing I would sort of maybe be interested in, but again, you're below this demand, right? These are all kind of the same thing, where this is just a retest of a very critical level. And if it does reject off this level, I think it's fucked. So I don't want to buy it. ApeCoin, yeah, I'm just not interested. I mean, this would have been a good buy down here, because if you guys know my order block stuff, right, this makes perfect sense. This pump, I wish I was paying attention to this, honestly, because we could have easily caught that. Yeah, that would have been a very nice move. But again, just previous highs, right? Simple order block. INJ, talked about it briefly. This looks fine. I mean, honestly, this looks better than most of the coins because you are trading above this region here, right? And if we zoom in, what is this region? It was this big previous support, right? It got flipped to resistance over here. And now that we are trading above, this doesn't look bad. But to get a real upside move, I'd want to see it above $18. I think that's kind of the level you have to watch. Psi looks terrible, right? You're just rejecting off this demand again. You were pretty much able to get one close above, but you don't have any strength, and there's no follow through. So I would imagine this thing keeps going lower. Terrible. Terrible. This tells us the market is fucked, if I'm being honest. If we draw this out, I mean, it's a pretty clear what kind of happened. Right, broke out of the trend line, you know, retested the trend line, whatever. I hate trend lines, but I have to admit it's real. And then you just kind of grinded your way up, you know, flip this level back to support, right? We can just kill this, right? Realistically, you know, you just flipped this whole region to support, and then you just keep on grinding higher, right? Every time previous highs are just getting flipped, and you're just moving up higher and higher. This makes me really uncomfortable. I do not like when memes run. I really do not like when memes run. When things do this, it usually historically is a top signal. It is nice that this kind of Ponzi coin isn't doing anything. A lot of the other typical cycle ender coins, you know, don't look that amazing. I think the end of the cycle will look like this, if I'm being honest. The end of the cycle probably is, if we get a bull market, you know, and we don't actually collapse, this will squeeze to 3,500 or so, or maybe even 4,200, and this will end the bull market. So this will eventually happen. ETH will, to me, eventually have a random god candle. I don't know when. I'm not even going to try to trade it. I'm just going to hold spot. But eventually, these are going to do the same thing, okay, where all of these properly get run eventually. Again, maybe we get the bear market first, but if we don't, this is what I would expect to happen, is we run all of these highs together, okay? This chart, ETH BTC, is going to moon. So this thing is sitting at giga demand right now or whatever, right? We're kind of just fucking around this region. It's going to randomly, and again, I don't know when, just pump, like just giga pump. And when this happens, BTC will pump. It'll go up a lot. I would think a few $1,000s, you know, 5,000, 6,000 maybe. And, you know, we'll probably run to like, you know, 75, 80,000. And I actually think this thing will squeeze either 4,200 or, you know, 3,500. But this move is inevitable, okay? If BTC does break out of this range, to me, there is no way that these don't get run, okay? And why? Not even because I'm bullish on Ethereum, just because if I'm a trader, right, this is the most obvious level to short ever, right? Look at it. It is literally painfully obvious. It's basically begging you to short it. And usually this kind of stuff will not let you do that because it's too easy. And eventually, I would hope you get the squeeze into right there. Okay, I'll draw a box for it. I would hope we get a squeeze into right there. And what that would look like is sort of this horrible, continued, shitty grind structure. Eventually, some closes into here, and then you will get the gap up. I guarantee it'll be almost instantaneous. Once you reclaim this box, it will gap up pretty aggressively, if not immediately. It is a scam, and that's just how it trades, right? If we look at the past on this thing, whenever you do get the gap up, it's random, right? There's no TA behind this. It's just going to do it whenever it decides to do it. This is not a coin I want to trade because it trades awful. It's genuinely awful to trade. But in terms of spot, I have no doubt this will eventually come back for these highs. In fact, I would almost bet on it. Like I would bet on it. I buy spot, but I really do think it is likely eventually. But again, your invalidation is pretty obvious, right? Because if it starts taking candle closes below this giant box here, you just cut it. It's pretty simple. If you lose this region, right, you start trading below 2300. I would just say it's fucked and cut all my positions. So relatively easy invalidation, which I like. And if we do get that bear market, I will buy around here, this 1700 mark. So this whole support region here, right? We can tell it's pretty significant because in 2021, when BTC was around 25 to 30K, this was our big support resistance region, right? We were flirting with this level a lot, right? And eventually when we properly reclaimed it, we just ran. I mean, maybe you could argue, this is the region or whatever, but it all is roughly the same place. Okay, I'm gonna check the chat here. Actually, I'm gonna wrap the recording up and just post this. So this is gonna conclude this week's market overview. Then are there anything you guys want me to